Hello everybody, and welcome to Ancient Architects. In this episode, we travel to the Mayan city of Palenque in South Mexico, as we take a closer look at the amazing stone sarcophagus lid of King Pakal. It was found in the pyramid known as the Temple of Inscriptions, and many ancient astronaut theorists use it as proof for ancient flying machines. King Pakal lived between 603 and 683 AD, and ascended to the throne in 615, ruling until his death, the longest known reign in the history of the Americas. He was known for the construction or extension of some of Palenque's most notable monumental architecture. On his death, he was buried in the famous Temple of Inscriptions, and although Palenque had been examined for many years by archaeologists, the location of his remains was a mystery. That was until 1948, when a secret entrance to his tomb was discovered, closed off by a stone slab with stone plugs in the holes, which had long escaped archaeologists. It took 4 years to clear the rubble from the descending stairway to King Pakal's tomb, and it was finally uncovered in 1952, with his skeletal remains still lying in the coffin, wearing a beautiful jade death mask and necklaces, surrounded by sculptures and reliefs that depicted the ruler's transition to the afterlife. The discovery of the tomb meant that the Temple of Inscriptions was therefore the only pyramid in the world that can be positively identified as a tomb. But the most striking part of the tomb wasn't the king's sacred artefacts, but the large sarcophagus lid, which is without doubt a truly amazing piece of Mayan art, closely resembling the large wall panels of the Temple of the Cross and the foliated cross, which centered on the world tree. Around the edges of the lid is a band with cosmological signs, including those for the sun, moon, and star, as well as the heads of 6 noblemen. But the central image is the one that has caused the most discussion, and was a key piece of evidence in Erich von Daniken's 1968 book, Chariots of the Gods. In the book, he reproduced a drawing of the sarcophagus lid, and compared King Pakal's pose to that of the Project Mercury astronauts from the 1960s. Von Daniken interprets the imagery as a flying rocket, and offers it as proof of an extraterrestrial influence on the ancient Maya. He says, "In the centre of that frame is a man sitting bending forward. He has a mask on his nose. He uses his 2 hands to manipulate some controls, and the heel of his left foot is on a kind of pedal, with different adjustments. The rear portion is separated from him. He is sitting on a complicated chair, and outside of this whole frame you will see a little flame, like an exhaust." Okay, I know this theory is quite popular, but does anybody really believe it? If you look at different examples of Mayan art, it doesn't take long to realise that the imagery displayed on the sarcophagus lid is quite common, and is actually relatively easy to interpret. The lid actually shows the moment of King Pakal's death, and his descent into the underworld. The most famous symbol on the lid is the world tree, which, if you believe ancient aliens, makes up the entire hull of King Pakal's rocket. The world tree was of central importance in Maya mythology. Its branches extended into the heavens, whilst the roots went into the underworld. Therefore, it was a symbol of a bridge between the underworld, heaven, and earth. Whenever you see it depicted, it almost always has a double-headed vision serpent on its branches, shown here on King Pakal's lid. The vision serpent was thought to live at the centre of the world, and here it is depicted just above the underworld and just below the heavens. In the tree's top branches is the celestial Quetzal bird, which is commonly seen in other Mayan world tree depictions. As you can see, the one on King Pakal's lid is clearly the same bird. The celestial bird represents the heavens, and that is why it always features on top of the world tree. At the base of the lid is what ancient alien theorists describe as a fire from the rocket's takeoff, but what it actually is are the roots from the world tree extending into the underworld. And no, this isn't a convenient explanation for this specific image. It is actually a requirement in Maya world tree imagery. In the underworld, as portrayed on the lid, we also see an image of the Mayan sun monster, which King Pakal is riding into the underworld. In Maya mythology, every time the sun set, it was actually travelling into the underworld, where it would die like everything else. You can even see the bottom half of the sun's face is a skeleton, whilst the top half still has flesh and hence it has not yet died. This too is a common theme in Mayan art, showing the moment of transition. So, what we are seeing is King Pakal riding the sun into the underworld. Even the so-called smoke is easily explainable. In Mayan art, whenever you see a so-called traveller, i.e. a person in transition from one world to the next, there must be something that is making the travel possible. Sometimes it is a twisted umbilical cord, but almost always it is a serpent, often a double-headed serpent. In other words, being in the mouths of a double-headed serpent is a symbol of transition from one world to the next. You can see the so-called smoke is actually a traditional serpent's beard, which appears in almost every depiction of a serpent in Mayan art. So, this explains the image, but what else do ancient alien theorists say? For a start, they say King Pakal's hands are manipulating controls. But, if you look closely, his right hand isn't actually touching anything at all, and the thing to his right isn't actually connected to the tree. His left hand, you could say, is manipulating controls, but that would mean that all the marks displayed on the world tree are controls, when, in reality, it is probably the bark of the world tree, which was based on the ceiba tree, shown here. The ceiba tree has a very distinctive bark, which was often depicted stylistically in Mayan art. The style of King Pakal's hands is actually a common Mayan tradition, to display them in a delicate position. This is also seen on the side of the lid, and also in various examples of Mayan art. And as for the so-called pedal that King Pakal's foot is resting on, well, it is a stretch of the imagination to say this looks like a pedal, and there are many other examples of Mayans in the underworld with their feet in a very similar position, but without the so-called rocket. Ancient aliens theorists also tell us that King Pakal has a kind of breathing tube in his nose, but it doesn't actually connect to anything. What it really is a nose piercing, particularly a bone. So, to summarise, King Pakal's sarcophagus lid displays all the common imagery associated with death in Mayan mythology. It is just the arrangement of the imagery that is totally unique. In truth, researching rocket ships is a waste of time, and what we really should be doing is studying the unique layout of the Mayan mythological symbols on the sarcophagus lid, which could unlock the true mystery of what author Maurice Cotterell calls the amazing lid of Palenque. Thanks to his work, we now know there is far more to the lid than meets the eye. He has done extensive research and found what he believes is a hidden code that unlocks around 128 different images on the sarcophagus lid. Cotterell believes that he found secret instructions that were encoded along the borders of the lid. The code can be broken only by using transparencies of the original carving and flipping them or rotating them at various angles. The pictures revealed aren't of aliens or advanced technology, but yet more Mayan symbolism and mythology, which, in itself, seems to confirm Cotterell's discovery. One picture was of King Pakal himself, seen wearing the sign of the bat across his mouth. The bat was the symbol of death, so in Mayan mythology, the bat across the mouth is symbolic for taking away the king's breath. The high hairstyle, first seen on the stone head carving of King Pakal found on the floor of the tomb, here becomes a baby Quetzal bird that carries a chain in its beak. On the chain hangs a conch shell, the mark of Quetzalcoatl, the famous feathered snake of Mayan culture. Cotterell interprets this image to be showing the belief that when Pakal died, he was reborn as Quetzalcoatl, who was the highest god in Mayan culture, pictured here. The Quetzal bird from the rainforests of Central America is treasured for its brightly coloured feathers. These, when used to decorate a serpent, represents the soaring spirit, rebirth, resurrection, and everlasting life. The feathered serpent imagery is of course sacred to ancient civilizations around the world. Cotterell sees the sarcophagus lid as a grand theatre production, a series of images that reveal the secrets of life in the universe. The encoded pictures come to life, allowing the gods themselves to tell not only the history and mythology of the Maya, but also astronomical knowledge. Cotterell believes that this code can also be found in other Mayan art, including the amazing jade death mask of King Pakal. The grand sarcophagus lid of the Temple of Inscriptions on its own is a truly magnificent work of art. Does it prove ancient aliens? Is it just Mayan symbolism, or is it actually a secret code? If Cotterell is correct, it could well be the Rosetta Stone of Mexican archaeology. Thank you for watching this episode of Ancient Architects. Please subscribe to the channel, please like the video, and please leave a comment below. Thank you very much.